All right, everyone, thank you for joining us here on our live stream on a big night, election night across the country. But more specifically, we're focusing on what's going on in Virginia. And we are fortunate enough on this evening to have with us former Virginia Governor Doug Wilder, who has seen more than his fair share of elections and provides plenty of useful insight. And we're going to rely on him tonight to do some more of that. Governor, thank you for joining us.
Good to be with you, Scott. I hope all goes well.
Could you begin by just giving me a little bit of a look at what you're keeping closest watch on tonight and why you think tonight is going to be so critical in the future of the Commonwealth?
Well, I've always believed in what I call keeping your eye on the money. And when you consider where we are and where we seem to be headed, we shouldn't stop doing that. I don't think the people in Virginia are going to be looked upon as being red or blue. I used to say maybe purple, but I think Virginians have pretty much gotten it to know that they are a people's state. And this state will vote for Republicans, they vote for Democrats. No one can take the people for granted. And I'd like to see that message still being out there as it relates to who's done the effort, who's made the effort, who has really told people where we need to be and where they're going to be in terms of leadership. And with that in mind, it's a very good thing for us to have that occasion.
Governor, you've been critical of both sides, showing some bipartisanship here in your criticism at times of the candidates from both the Republicans and Democrats. It's been a bit of a topsy-turvy election when you look at not just the governor's race, but then the lieutenant governor's race has certainly seen some drama, and perhaps nothing eclipsed more than by the attorney general's race. What are your thoughts as far as the kind of soap opera we've been living through here the last few months?
Well, I blame some people for that, and you blame party leaders for that. When I say blame, the responsibility of party leadership is to do just that, to lead. It's a tautology. It defines itself. Take the position and lead. Have we seen that? I have never known of any party leader to demand that someone get out of the race as it relates to John Reed. And yet that's exactly what Glenn Youngkin did. When you consider the other thing that Glenn Youngkin has been a part of, and that is miseducating the people as it relates to DEI. DEI aren't some words to be just plucked out of the sky to sound good. They are there to show what real diversity is, what real equity is, and what real involvement is. I point out that our courts from Great Britain came here as law and chancery. Courts right in the city of Richmond and Virginia were law and equity. So the leadership, in my judgment, needs to be honest with the people, to speak the truth. And as I say, the people will always be ahead of leaders because they experience what the shortfalls are, and it affects them.
Governor, you've talked about you wrote about the urgent need for some better political decorum. Do you think this is just where we are when it comes to these high stakes races like a gubernatorial race, that it becomes maybe even a little more mudslinging than we saw back when you were running?
No, they threw the mud when I was running. But most of it was thrown at me. I didn't engage in the negative, and I think the people get sick of that. They don't want to see the negative either. One of the real things that I would like to have seen in this election as well, what are you really talking about as it relates to education? What are you going to do? What are you going to do when you say you are in favor of safe streets and better involvement in public safety? What do you mean by improving transportation? Spell it out. And I think that started a little bit in this election, but how far did we get to it in terms of the final analysis being made? The people ask these questions. These are the things they want to know because they're affected.
Yeah, the substantive matters, right? I mean, it's content is king when you're out there and you're, of course, retail politicking. You have to answer directly for these questions. I know we only had one debate. That made it a little bit difficult for people who may not have been paying as close attention as someone like you. But I'm curious what you think, as we now know polls closing and results are going to be coming in. How much of a factor is President Trump in what's going on tonight with people casting their ballots? And then additionally, because of the DOJ cuts, the federal jobs that have been lost, and now a government shutdown, is this really going to hurt the party in power? Of course, in this case, the Republicans, as they look to see what these poll results are going to be.
I think the polls are showing that. And I think that the effect that it has will be determined by who is going to be most in favor of Trump, one way or the other, and who supports and who does not support. The thing is that Trump is not on the ballot as such, but Virginia we have so many people who supported Trump, and we are right at the White House. We are right there. When you got somebody who's saying, well, we're going to build a $350 million ballroom. My goodness, do we really need that? And you're going to tell me, but I got to pay more for food, I got to pay more for health care, and I can't get adequate housing? It doesn't make sense. So Trump is in the air, and he is going to be a part of this election, not on the ballot in direct sense, but most indirectly he is.
And then do you think that drives more voter involvement? I mean, I know that there's this kind of disenchantment a lot of people have with the body politic in general, and get very frustrated and say they don't pay attention anymore, or they don't care to take part. But at the same time, we have seen over the past 35 days with this shutdown, the direct impact that political decisions have on daily lives and whether or not you can afford to feed your kids or fill the gas tank or buy that medicine. Do you think that that's going to drive more voter involvement? We're going to see higher reaction in a non-presidential year on this election?
It should, but it depends on the candidate who gets that message out to show the relationship. These things are happening because at this level, this is happening. DOJ. Oh yes, you want to make certain that certain things are done away with as such, but what is going to be the replacement factor? Certainly, you got the high cost of living, but who's causing it? Well, what are the effects of the cause? So you can't even get together to put a budget together. We've got to wait and wait and wait. And so we don't have that leadership, but we do have people to look to say, well, who's responsible for that at the national level? That's why Trump comes in one way or the other, and you can't escape it.
Yeah, Governor, I've got just a few more minutes with you, but I want to open it up to anybody who's watching right now who may have some questions to go ahead and message them to us right now, and we'll get those in with Governor Wilder here, who has certainly made history in his own ranks here in the Commonwealth. And we're going to see some history unfold tonight as either way, either Abigail Spanberger or Winsome Earle-Sears probably declares themselves before midnight, we would hope, a governor. And that would be the first female governor in the Commonwealth. Governor Wilder, what is your take on how significant that is beyond the obvious headlines of saying, okay, now we have a woman governor? What does it really mean?
It's a further attestation to the true meaning of the Constitution of the United States, that are born equal, born alike, born entitled to the same things that all other citizens are entitled to. That's one of the things I hoped my election brought forth, that being the first is one thing, being the last is something else. I think Americans, and particularly Virginians, they've gotten past that. And to the extent that however it goes tonight, we will have a woman or a female governor who should not be looked upon as a female governor. And I'd like to say how grateful I am to the people of the Commonwealth of Virginia who have not looked upon me as a black governor. They have not looked upon me now as the first black governor. They look upon me now, I think, as a governor who brought them some degree of success. And I'd like to be judged that way. And I'm hopeful that the winner tonight, whomever that would be, would follow in that same tradition of wanting to be judged by character and the ability to produce, not for self, but for others.
if we look at the timeline of politics, Governor, does it surprise you that it's 2025 when we'll finally first see a female governor, or do you think that this is something you would have predicted is about time?
It could have happened before, but we had people who were running who, unfortunately, didn't hearken to the message that you and I are talking about tonight, and thought perhaps that it comes automatically because once, well, we broke it with this old guy, and it might just follow automatically. It is not like that. You can't ever forget the people. The people will never forget you. And so I think I'm happy to see more women, more people of color, more people of every stripe becoming involved in government, because that's what we are, a nation of the people, for the people. And the government should be by the people.
Yeah, and I would imagine, and I'm guessing that you would agree in this kind of chorus of calls from people, that this would only encourage more people of every walk of life to believe that not only can they run for an office, but they could win that office even as high as governor of Virginia. What about the concept here of a split ticket? There are a lot of people wondering, based on those controversial J. Jones texts, that you may see a Democrat win the governor's seat, talking about Abigail Spamberger, and that Hashmi Ghazala may win over John Reed. But then, contrary to that, it won't just be down the ballot ticket voting, that perhaps we're going to see Jason Miyares hold his seat against Jay Jones because of those texts. Do you think that's a realistic concept?
It's realistic, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's no guarantee that a ticket has to be elected down across the board just because one of the persons you like. You people vote party, of course, but they also think that the party has the responsibility to put forth the best possible candidates they can put forth. Once the party does that, the party has to get out of the way. Let the people make up their minds, and in this instance, they will.
Do you want to make any sort of predictions at this point?
No, I won't make any predictions, Scott. I think this, though, is healthy. It seems to be robust, and I'm glad that people have had an opportunity to feel that they were involved. We'll see when the end comes as to whether their feeling was justified.
Yeah, I've got one more question for you. And then again, if anyone else wants to chime in, feel free to message us now. But, you wrote or spoke about the need for candidates to do something other than what they're doing now when it comes to seeking refuge in ambiguity. And I think that there have been a lot of questions that have been posed to these candidates by reporters where they've dodged giving a clear answer on a policy or how they feel. That's nothing unusual. That's Washington, and of course, just about anywhere in this country when it comes to candidates facing races, that these days I think people are worried about giving a clickable moment, going viral with the wrong answer, or having it misconstrued. But it does leave us in a place where candidates seem more and more prone to just kind of give some generic response and not really nail down how they feel about a topic, at least not publicly, really to lay out a policy in a way that allows voters to have maybe more clarification or more confidence in who they're voting for. Are we ever going to get away from that, or have we kind of jumped the shark? Is it all about ambiguity moving forward?
You can get away from it, and I hate to say it quite like this because I don't mean to imply you, but the job of the media is to make certain that that does happen. Look, I didn't ask you this. I asked you that. Can you answer that question? If you can't answer that question, I'll skip to another and see if you can answer that. Don't let them get away with it. And the people outside are not going to let them get away with it if they get a chance to ask the question. So the media obviously will be talking to the people. They've had their preparations. They've had their so-called opposition research done, and they want to talk about their thing. Make them talk about the things and the issues that you feel that the people want to hear from and see action taken about, and insist on it, and don't let them carry you otherwise.
We've been trying really hard at 7 News here to do that with some of these candidates, and they have been evasive, to say the least, but it doesn't mean that we'll stop trying. We never will, and we'll continue to pursue that endeavor, and appreciate the encouragement you're giving, and let's hope that everyone can have a little more clarity as far as the body politic and what the next steps are to make sure that this Commonwealth is run the way that the voters want it to be. We appreciate your insights as always, Governor. Great to have you on the air on what will either way be a historic election night here in Virginia. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay. Very good.